Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today we're going to be tackling fondant once again. Yes, I've made several videos about fondant, and if you want to see those videos, I'm going to put a playlist right up here for you. It says click on me. Yeah, click on that. Okay, so we know fondant cakes can take a lot of time. Like, they take so much time and effort. Like, you literally have to work like hours for you to get a perfect fondant cake every time, even if you are well experienced and you've been doing this for a while. So one question I get a lot from people, even from people that are not cake decorators, just cake buyers, basically, if you like cakes, you've had this question and in your mind for a while. So people ask me, how do I store a fondant cake? Yes, an already decorated fondant cake, whether it's been sliced or you haven't sliced through it. Like, how do I store a fondant cake? Now, this is the question we're going to be tackling today. Okay, so before we get started, could you please follow me on Instagram as double_cake me away and subscribe to this channel? And at the same time, could you please give me a thumbs up underneath this video? Okay, guys, without much ado, let us get started. Okay, so normally if you live in a cool place, like a place that isn't so hot and like a cool place, basically, you can store fondant at room temperature for about 3 to 4 days. But disclaimer though, if you have like fresh fruits and vegetables inside the cake, like within the cake layers, maybe you have strawberries, apples, or if you have fresh fruits, I don't mean compotes and like jams and stuff, I mean actual fresh fruits. You don't want to be thinking of how to store your fondant cake. You want to be thinking of how to eat your fondant cake really fast before it goes bad, because even when you keep it in the fridge or when you're trying to increase the shelf life, like the taste of the fruit starts to change, and that starts to affect the taste of your general cake overall, basically. Okay, so I hear a lot of people say you can't store fondant cakes in the fridge. Like, nobody even bothers to ask, why can't you put fondant cakes in the fridge or put it in the freezer? They just say, oh, then there'll be too much humidity and then your cake will sweat. So today I'm going to explain to you why you can store your fondant cake in the fridge and even in the freezer. Okay, first things first, we all know that when sugar basically comes in contact with water, it starts to become sticky and wet. So it is the humidity in the fridge or in the freezer that is making your fondant sticky and wet. It is not actually because it is touching water, or it is not the reduced temperature in the fridge. So a way to store your fondant cakes in the fridge basically would be to take your fondant cake and wrap it completely in cling film, preferably, and then popping it in the fridge. Yes, and that way the fondant won't come directly in contact with humidity in the fridge, even though the temperature is lowered. I hope that makes sense. I'm not sure if that makes sense to you, but I hope you understand. Yes, the fridge is cold, but it is covered, which means the humidity in the fridge is not touching your actual fondant on your cake, so it won't be sticky and wet, even though the cake is cold, and it can help increase the shelf life. Okay guys, now that we know that you can easily put your fondant cake in the fridge, so the next thing we want to think about is like, when do you want to take it out of the fridge? How do you do that? You can't just take your cake directly out of the fridge and then start to serve it. So when you've kept your fondant cake in the fridge for more than 8 to 12 hours, this is how you go about like taking it out of the fridge. Take it out of the fridge and leave it for at least 1 hour while it is still wrapped. Don't unwrap it. The reason is because if you don't unwrap it, the cake comes to room temperature slowly, so the sudden change in temperature won't affect your cake and make it sweat. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so the next thing we want to think about is, can you store your fondant cake in the freezer? Now that we know you can store your fondant cake in the fridge. Yeah, lots of people say, yeah, if it's already covered in fondant and decorated, you can store it in the freezer. No guys, you can totally store it in the freezer. And the same technique I told you previously for the fridge applies also to the freezer. What you want to do is make sure you wrap it completely in cling film. I don't mean wrap it in foil. Foil doesn't really work, because like some air can still get to touch it. So wrap it completely in cling film and make sure it is tightly wrapped, and then keep it in the freezer. And then once you've kept it in the freezer for at least, maybe you can keep it in the freezer for as long as you want actually, but it is important for you to know how to take it out of the freezer, just like taking it out of the fridge. So let's say for example you like to serve your fondant cake tomorrow, or you like to use it tomorrow. take it out of the fridge the night, or take it out of the freezer the night before and keep it in the fridge. The reason is because it slowly like increases in temperature without causing condensation on the fondant. I don't know if that makes sense. The sudden change in temperature won't affect your fondant so much that to start to sweat. So take it out of the freezer and pop it in the fridge for at least 8 to 12 hours, and then take it out of the fridge and leave it on the table unwrapped for at least another hour, and then unwrap your cake. That way you can help your fondant cake come to room temperature slowly and easily without risking it having like stickiness, or it's like humidity has touched it and like just wet and nasty. Yeah, guys, I hope it really helped you. I hope like that works for you, and if you try it out, please let me know. Okay, so thirdly, if you've already sliced your fondant cake, you already took a few slices and then you have like some leftover, how do you store it? This is the easiest to store. Basically, all you have to do is, again, take it and wrap it in some cling film and store it in the fridge or in the freezer if you want. And then make sure when you want to serve it, you take it out like a few hours before, so it can like slowly come to room temperature. And then of course you don't want to eat frozen cake or like cake that you just took out of the fridge, because that way it would be hard and it won't have the texture that is delicious that we all love in cake. So make sure it is at room temperature when you eat, or when you serve it to your guests, or when you eat it basically to enjoy. Thank you guys so much, and remember to follow me on Instagram and subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much, and I will see you in my next tutorial. Please give me a thumbs up as well. Thank you. Bye.